Well, hello, Johnny. How's your day going for you, sir?
Going well. How are you doing, Mike?
I am doing great. It's a wonderful day. It's always good to be with you and to share with our audience some of your expertise and insights around retirement planning. And I know you covered a lot of it in your Amazon best-selling book, Retire at New Heights. And what we want to do on the podcast today, Johnny, is talk really about one of the greatest fears that people have as they start thinking about and moving into retirement. And I know you know this because you talk with people all the time. But one of the greatest fears is people outliving their money. Do you hear people talking about that?
Oh man, the one of the biggest things when we do our retirement shield classes and seminars is people turn in forms of what they're concerned about, and that is generally between taxes and outliving your money are two of the top two things that people check off that they're really concerned about. Just because the fact that people are living longer, they've seen their parents live longer, and sometimes they've seen family members struggle, and their savings gets depleted, especially with long-term care and that kind of stuff going on, which is all stuff we'll talk about down the road. But outliving your money, the impact of inflation and all these things coming in people's faces now is a huge concern for most folks um, as they get to that retirement age and or are retired already, and you have a finite amount of money. How do you make it last? Because you're not
Yeah,
creating new money generally, so you've got to figure out a plan to make it last.
yeah, that's good. And what we want to do is start helping our audience understand these concerns and how you can help them. And what this concern of outliving your money really wasn't much of a concern back in my grandparents' day. And I think my dad was a fireman, and it wasn't a big concern for he and my mom. But things have changed. Talk about what changed back from when my grandparents were alive and they didn't really have to worry about this to today. Not just the how long we're living, but some of the components of building a solid retirement plan with the right amount of legs and things. Unpack that for us and explain what changed.
Well, think about having something solid that you're going to be able to rely on for a lifetime. And it used to be, if you think about retirement in the aspect of a stool, right? There was three things that you could always generally rely on for sure. Is first of all, most folks uh, were everybody first of all got Social Security, right? I mean, that was everyone was getting Social Security. They knew they were getting it. They had that, and most everybody back in those days would get a pension. Right. That was across the board. You worked for your 30 years, you're getting your pension. Remember, everyone would be like, I got to put in my 30 years or put in my 35-year, whatever it is. You'd always hear that. I'm getting my pension. So people would work an extra few years to get an extra amount of money, whatever. That was the way they planned. And so they had those things. And so two things that you will never outlive because you get them forever. And then the third aspect of it was, let's face it, people saved better back then generally. They would just throw their money in their savings accounts or in their banks or whatever they did, and that kind of thing, and they just saved money generally better. But the outliving your money aspect of it was two things were never going away: a pension and Social Security, and then the other thing was your savings. So you had three legs to a stool that made your retirement pretty solid, pretty solid. So um, that is the way things were. So the fear of outliving money 25, 30, 40, all those years ago wasn't really there. I mean, I think of my grandparents and things like that. They lived pretty comfortably. You know what I mean? They were middle class, enjoyed their lives. They could travel when they wanted to. They knew January 1, 1976, what they were getting that year.
Yes.
77. They knew what they were getting that year. You know what I mean? They woke up and that was it. And
Yes.
it's not like that today. It's not like that today.
Yeah. And it's not like that because things changed and the companies don't do the pension anymore. We still have Social Security and people are saving, probably not as much as they need to, but the that one leg of the stool, that pension plan from your company, that went away a number of years ago. I don't know when, but when the government switched to what the 401ks and Roth, all of those things, when employers stopped contributing, that kind of took that leg away. And now we've got this two-legged stool that if you don't have that other leg that provides that income for life, that's no wonder people worry about it, right?
Oh, absolutely. If you think, I mean, I know we've been preached 401k, 401k for the last 30, 40 years, and you know, they're good plans or whatever, but think about what that did for companies. It took all the pressure off the company. Once you retired at 65 or whatever, if you live to be 90, that's 25 years. The company's done with you, right? At 65 years old, okay, good luck. Go out there and do your thing. You know what I mean? No worry, no harm, no nothing. And so all the onus now was on you what to do with that money. And so it took all this pressure off the company, all the money they were going to pay out for rest of your life gone. And most of the time, most people would select joint pensions. So if they passed away, their spouse was going to get some of the money too. And so all that was now off the companies, and so they started switching most of them over time, slowly but surely, away from that mindset. And of course, they're going to their companies. They want to make money. I mean, that's just the fact of things. I'm sorry. So 401ks were really good for those companies, and it across the board. And it puts all the onus on us now. It
Right.
puts all the onus on the retiree. Okay, so that one leg has been ripped out, and now we have two legs, which we'll talk to down the road in another episode. But so now we're dealing with the sure thing of Social Security and these savings,
Right.
which is volatile. It's a volatile leg. You know, you ever have a stool where you kind of get on it and it kind of wiggly and you're trying to figure out, okay, I got to screw it in more. And sometimes the screw's stripped and you're like, oh man, and it's a little wiggly. And you're like, oh, sometimes that's how we feel about our retirement, man. It's volatile and it
Yeah.
makes us nervous. And so that's how a lot of people feel.
Well, it does. You're right. In the aspect of that nervousness and having money in your nest egg. So right now it seems like people, many of them don't have a pension plan. So they've saved in a 401k. They have Social Security ready for them. But their money that's invested, that they have saved, or we shall we say they've accumulated money over a number of years, 30, 40 years of working. They've been accumulating their money many times in a 401k. It can be in real estate, it can be lots of things, but they've accumulated this nest egg. And you're right, it's volatile because it's in the stock market, or it's in securities or whatever that go up and down. And what people have to understand, Johnny, and we're going to talk about this in the next episode, really, is the difference between the way the game is played during the accumulation years, what you're trying to do there, versus what you're trying to do in what you would call the distribution years, the years during retirement, when you're trying to keep that. Give us like a 1 minute snapshot of the difference in your mind between the accumulation phase and the distribution phase, and we're going to talk about it in the next episode.
Yeah, so the accumulation phase is a time where you're putting money into savings and you can deal with some more risk type situations with the market and that kind of stuff because you're still funding, you're still putting money into it. So when you get to a distribution phase, now you are drawing money from that. So you got to get away from potential of loss. So accumulation phase, it I'm funding it, so I'm going to recover. It's still going to grow over time. Distribution phase, though, if you take a hit and you're taking money out, man, it can hurt real bad. And think about this too on the stool concept. So you used to have your Social Security and your pension. Okay, those were coming down the road, and then you saved. Now we've removed the pension, but our savings now is pretty much our 401k. So our savings used to be above and beyond the pension and Social Security was just this, but now our savings is strictly for most folks just their 401k. So they're not even saving kind of like what they used to above and beyond or different things. So it's really depleted a lot of folks potential for successful retirement if they're not careful and if they are taking risk with that one part of their leg. during distribution years, man, it can really crumble that stool down pretty quick.
It can. And let's breathe hope into our audience, because there are solutions, there are ways, there are strategies that Johnnie and his team have to help you rebuild and protect and make sure you're going to retire at new heights, as his company's called, his books is called. And we're going to be talking about that in the upcoming episode. So hang with us, keep listening. But if this hits you today and you find yourself in that phase of just kind of fearful, just reach out to Johnnie and his team and strike up a conversation, talk with them about your unique situation, and see how they can help you make sure that your stool, your retirement stool, has 3 solid legs on it. We're going to talk some more in the upcoming episode. So, Johnnie, this has been a very intriguing concept, addressing the number one fear of most people going into retirement is outliving their money. We've talked about the reasons for that is the pension has kind of gone away. People are on their own, leaving 2 legs of that stool. And we just touched on, and we're going to get into next episode, is the difference between the accumulation phase of life and the distribution phase of life. So I'm super excited. This is really fun for me to dive in and talk about, and just help people understand how you can help them retire at new heights. So Johnnie, thanks for a great episode, and I look forward to talking with you on the next one when we unpack some more.
See you soon.